What's going on, Agents Rock? Today we're going to do it a little bit different. We usually have one dedicated topic and we talk about that specific topic. But today I think we're going to go on little rants here and there. So we're going to talk about a slew of things.
Do you want to tell everybody the good news?
What's the good news?
I'm not fired.
Oh, you're not fired. We kept Melissa on despite her ugly feet. But I was telling Melissa earlier that, real estate becomes very redundant and, sometimes it can get boring. And I haven't been this excited about a specific topic or niche in a long time as I am now developing this passion about co-living space. And I was talking to Melissa before. I just find it fascinating because I think that in the foreseeable future, it's going to be something that's extremely popular. And I was reading an article on Bigger Pockets. I don't know if you got to read it yet or not. I'll send it to you. But it's fascinating how they talk about a lot of the pros and cons. And I don't think there is an actual con to this concept, co-living concept. And look, co-living's been around for like
50 years.
Yeah, it's been around for a long, long time, right? Room share. This is just a tweaked concept of what's been around for a very long time, right? If you had roommates, that's co-living, right? One of the more popular things I've seen in about 10 years ago, actually, I remember this gentleman that I met. He's an investor. He owns a bunch of properties, like 2-family houses around Rutgers University in Newark. And what he ended up doing, instead of renting out each apartment, he was renting out the rooms to students at Rutgers. And what he did, or what he accomplished by doing it, is actually increasing the cash flow of his properties by 30%, which I thought was extremely fascinating, right? So co-living is exactly that, but it's tweaked very similar to co-working space, which I was inspired the other day when we did the mastermind. Mm-hmm. We were at a co-working space at the NMOS. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly.
I don't remember.
But it's very different than the one at, Bellwork?
Bellworks, yeah.
Bellworks. Bellworks is more of a corporate building. This had a homey feel. Like
it was like a house feel. Like
correct.
You were like walking into a house.
And walking through it, I was like, this would be cool if you can do this for tenants where they can coexist, like, common elements or common areas like the kitchen, the living room, etc. Or even co-working space and co-living space coexisting in the same building. That would be fascinating.
I think, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be great. That's my idea. Don't steal it.
Ah.
But let's talk about, let's talk a little bit about co-living space. I mean, what have you gathered?
I think, like you said, it's been around for a long time, but I think that now what people are realizing and why this is even becoming a thing now.
Well, it's not really a thing yet. People are talking about it,
people
but
are talking about it, but
I've never been to one yet.
No, me either. But I'm saying the idea, right, is coming up again. I think because from an affordability standpoint, it's huge. And then also, I read very recently.
You read?
Yeah. I read very recently on NJ.com that rents in New Jersey are up 20 to 40%, right? So 40% in Atlantic County, which I think was the highest. So from an affordability...
20 to 40% from what year, though?
2021.
Oh, wow. Wow, that's insane.
Yeah. So I think that from an affordability standpoint, it's great. And I also think that people now are starting to... because of what's happening in the economic...
For those that are listening, affordability standpoint in a sense that if you can create co-living space, right, if you can configure the ideal co-living space building, you can increase your cash flow by charging more per square foot, right? But it eventually would cost the tenant less money.
Well, yes, exactly. And I think that...
Yeah.
Go ahead. No, you finish.
Yeah, it would cost the tenant less money, but you're increasing the price per square foot because, the idea behind co-living space is that you're not going to give them a 900 to a 1,200 square foot apartment. You're giving them these efficiency bedrooms that have a bathroom, like maybe a Murphy bed that obviously when you wake up, you could turn that into, it folds and that can turn into a table, the essentials, right? And then, think of it like going to a hotel, like the Borgata, for example, right?
Yeah.
Really nice rooms. And then you leave and then you go to the common areas.
Right.
You go downstairs. You know, so you're increasing the common areas like the rec rooms and the kitchen areas. maybe, co-working spaces downstairs, but you're decreasing the apartment sizes, right? Or the co-living areas. No, actually the apartment sizes, you're
No,
truncating
it's
that
really
to
the
1/3.
bedroom sizes,
Yeah.
essentially.
Correct.
I mean, if that's where you sleep.
Yeah.
right?
So I think that rents could be 25 to 30% less, but because you're adding a lot more rooms or bedrooms, you can definitely increase the cash flow on a specific building.
Yeah. I think that people are reevaluating. So it's interesting, right? Because when COVID happened, everybody's like, oh my God, I need more room. I need more room. I need to work from home now. I need X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
I just need more space. And now I think that because of what's happening in our current economic state, right, and how rents are astronomical, people are starting to reevaluate. Like, okay, what do I really need?
More they need affordability.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying.
Especially younger people. Right?
Yeah, and I'm saying from an affordability standpoint, it's great because how much time do you really spend at home? If you work from home, all right, different story. But not everybody does still, right? You have students, they have to go to school, whatever the case may be, right?
Yeah.
But if you can create a space where, let's say on the first floor, that's your co-working area, you have meeting rooms, little cubicles or whatever, they just go downstairs.
Yeah, or you can create a community downstairs, right? And that's kind of one of the other benefits that I read, when I was looking at the article on Bigger Pockets. And there's a great TED Talk by Grace Kim. I didn't get through it. It's 10 minutes long. I got through about 7 or 8 minutes right before the podcast. And she's talking about all the benefits from a socioeconomic standpoint, right? And she says that these co-living spaces are not just ideal for millennials and Gen Zs. They're ideal for everybody. Like, think of a co-living space or co-living building where it's for families, where kids play with other kids, right? She was talking about, imagine having just, instead of having a kitchen in every apartment, right? Imagine having a common kitchen or one kitchen or maybe just a few kitchens in the common areas. And today it's your turn to cook and you're cooking for like 4 or 5 families.
Yeah.
And what it does is it lessens social isolation.
Yeah.
And it's true because she talks about, all these, communities, right? You go into these suburbs and these pockets that are very cookie cutter, right? Same house over and over and over. And it's fascinating.
You're in your house by yourself.
Yeah, you're in the house by yourself.
You're not forced to talk to anybody.
You're far away from your neighbor where you're not forced to talk to anyone, right? And we've gotten to a point in society that I feel that people are very isolated from each other, right? It's almost like we are taught to alienate ourselves from one another.
Right.
And I don't think that's mentally healthy, especially with everything that's going on, especially today with the political landscape, with the social landscape of the world. I think this can solve a lot of issues in that perspective, right? So it was fascinating take, her talking about like how many people here, she's asking the question, how many people, live in a single family home and they don't even know their own neighbors to the right or to the left. And I thought about it. Did I know my neighbors? I did. I actually did. I knew my neighbor to the left. I knew my neighbor to the right, right? Mike and Jenny.
But
and
sometimes you go days or weeks without even seeing
them.
them.
But wait, I went years without knowing them, right? And then eventually, we would see each other, raise our hand, or say hi. And then you're forced to as you're raising your hand, you're forced to have a conversation. I'm obviously an outspoken person, not as outspoken as you because you talk too much. But, you're forced to do it. But I didn't know my neighbor directly across from me, right? I didn't know the one next to them. I only knew my 2 neighbors.
Right.
And now imagine living in a co-living building where there's, 100, 150 people and you know like half of them.
Yeah.
Where you have
encourage you to coexist with everybody else, which is what you want. And then, think about all the people that are like a little bit older, right? Maybe they don't have kids. They don't really have much family. They're by themselves.
Yeah.
In their house or in their apartment and they don't see anybody.
Correct.
Right. So it's good for people like that as well.
Yeah.
I think it's healthy to be social, right? So co-living spaces definitely, I think, encourage that. But I don't think it's as easy as you're also making it seem, right?
In what aspect?
Well, how's the setup going to be? But before we even get into that, what kind of people is it going to attract, right? I don't know that co-living space would be great for families. I'll be honest, because guess what? If you're renting out essentially a room, then you need to rent out 2 rooms. Do you get what I'm saying? Because
no, but
you
that would be
no.
But wait, and we're probably jumping like a decade ahead of ourselves. But think of a building that's catered only to to co-living with families.
Fine.
here's the thing, right? We've seen a lot of disruptors in the market in the last 5 years. Let's talk about one, Airbnb,
Yeah.
right?
Which is down.
Yeah, it's down right now because that market is saturated,
Yeah.
right? But we've seen an explosion of Airbnb,
Yeah.
like just incredible, fascinating concept, and it works.
Yeah.
Like it was a great concept, and I'm a big believer that it only works in like great locations, destination areas,
Vacation areas.
but it's working everywhere. Like people,
Yeah.
people are doing Airbnb 5-10 minutes away from the airport, and they're consistently booked, right? So it does work. So this idea of shared economy is working. Where else have we seen that? Uber, Lyft, share rides.
Yeah.
People are literally doing shit. Why? Affordability, right? That ride is now 20-30% less, and you
It
get to
also
ride with
creates
someone.
jobs too.
Yeah, well, it creates jobs, but it also you're riding with someone,
Right.
right? You're talking to that person. You know, how many times have you been at an Uber? I mean, in an Uber or like a taxi, and you're not having a conversation with the driver?
I always am. I talk to everybody.
Well, that's because it's you. You talk to you talk to yourself in front of the mirror. We all know that, right? But
Yeah.
you know, like people want to talk. People
Yeah.
love that stuff.
Yes.
Right. But think about it. Like Adriana and I, my wife and I, and some of our friends, we've spoken about like how cool would it be? And listen to this, Joe. Right? Like how cool would it be if you rented like this enormous house for a year, and it's just you and your friends.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I'm getting at. I think that co-living spaces are going to be particularly attractive to college students, you know, family members that want to live together but don't have kids, right? Maybe like older people, right?
Like what you're like.
No, like your age, 52.
But that kind of already exists, like with senior facilities or like adult.
But it's
living.
it's cheaper. It's cheaper. And I'm not
It'll be cheaper,
Yeah, it'll be cheaper. So I don't think it's going to appeal to everybody, right? Like obviously if you have a family of 6, I don't know that that's going to work for you, right? So
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. If you have a family of 6, you may want your own
yeah,
space.
I don't think it's going to work. But I think particularly for the younger generation, college kids, I would love to live in a co-living space with all my friends.
Yeah, I mean, look, when John moved, you know, temporarily at the Avenue with Michelle and you know the baby, you know, the Avenue, which is a high-end luxury apartment building,
Yeah.
and it's not co-living, but what they've done very well is they had all
They
these
have-
amenities in the first
exactly.
floor where you don't have to leave ever.
Yes.
Like there's this huge, well, it was a kitchen, right?
Yeah.
Bar area. They
had
have
a
the
meeting room.
meeting room, theater.
They have it all, and that's
playroom.
essentially what they should do, right? And literally, so the way I envision it is like the first floor is all of that: meeting room, gym, maybe rec room, a theater, whatever
The
it
common
is,
areas,
right? The
right?
common areas, and then let's say it's a 4-story building, then the first story of housing, well, all the stories, first and above, is basically like in the middle you have a kitchen.
the common
A
areas.
kitchen and a living room, a decent size, enough space for, you know, that anybody that's staying in the apartments
I like that.
can go
Yeah.
and mingle, right? And then you have apartments on each side. Apartments meaning bedrooms
Yeah.
with their own bathroom.
Call it
But-
bedrooms, or you could call it efficiency apartments, right?
Yeah, and they're like 600 square feet. Is that too
Yeah.
big?
It could be.
All right,
It may be.
500 square feet, right? Because think about it. It's going to be a Murphy bed, right? A bathroom. Maybe have room in there to put, you know, a dresser, you know, have some closets and
Yeah.
a small couch, and then the bed turns into a table, right? And if you want, you can put a TV in there too. If you don't want to, if you don't want to be social one day and you want to stay in your own room, you have a TV. You can stay,
Correct.
hang out. But there's other things to consider. I think that the walls between the bedrooms should be soundproof, right? There's a lot of things to consider. And I don't know what that would look like from a town perspective. Like, how do you even spin that? That has to be approved, because essentially it's like you're subletting. That's what it sounds like. That's all it is. To me, at least.
No, you're
It
not,
sounds
you know,
like-
I mean, you're not subletting, but I mean,
Well, no, not subletting, but
is it
you're
any different?
but you're
than,
basically renting out rooms.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, is it
Because
something that's going to be popular in the foreseeable future? I 100% think so.
Yes, but then
And it's a
then-
scalable here. But wait. From an investor perspective, I think it's an extremely scalable model, right? You have to have a community
but-
manager.
Yes, but then here's the thing. Are the utilities included? They should be.
Yeah.
100%. Everything should be included. So let's say you have this apartment or bed room, I don't even know what to call it. Maximum per room should be 2, right? Because obviously if you're married or whatever,
Yeah.
right, you shouldn't have to get another room. So 2 per room, and everything is included. So it's like, for an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment, you'd pay like $2,500. Utilities not included,
Correct.
right? But for this, it's 2 people, maybe you pay 15,
Yeah. It could
and
be-
everything's included, and that's totally doable because you're still going to make money because you have all those rooms.
Yeah, you're maximizing in the square footage, right?
Yeah, and then
the
I think
cost
that
per
there
square
should-
foot would be higher.
and
as long as you keep the common areas not too big. Like the common areas can't represent,
Well-
30 or 40% of every floor, because then you're not going to be able to maximize
Yes, no,
square
of course
feet.
not. But then I think you should also do it where you have options, right? You have one room that's a little bit bigger. That's for the people that need 2 people to live there, right? Like husband and wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
Boyfriend, I don't know. And then and then you have a smaller room, right? So maybe one is 500 square feet.
All right, you're going
and
too
then
much in
this-
detail on like logistics.
I'm just saying,
she's trying to lay it out now. It's like, oh, I got the business plan right now.
Yeah, I'm just saying that they don't have to be identical, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So if you're going for the one that fits 2 people, it's going to be 1,500. If you're going for the one that's for 1 person,
Yeah.
it's 1,000. I don't know, right?
I think that,
But it's
I
so
think that-
affordable.
yeah, I think that what will make it work, what will make it popular, is the configuration, the layout of these buildings. If done properly, like if done very similar to a lot of successful co-working buildings, it can be extremely popular.
Yes.
Because I can tell you right now, would I do it? 100%. I would 100% rent a room or an efficiency room in a building like this, where there's all these amenities, where there's a community, where I get to hang out with people. I can watch TV, not by myself, with other people.
Yeah.
Right. I could play pool. I can, I can interact.
Yeah.
I would do that in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
A
I would
heartbeat.
too, because you're
Right.
social.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
The
But-
opposite of you.
No, but I would do that as well. And then on the first floor, I think for people that say, oh, I have to work from home, right, and they
Yeah.
need that space, well, on the first floor, you have all the
Yeah.
common work areas, right?
Yeah,
So
that'd
that'll
be great.
alleviate for that.
I can and I was thinking about this yesterday, and the night before that, I actually texted Nick, and I said, just imagine,
You're so random.
I know, just imagine this idea, if done and executed properly, is it a scalable model? It's 100%. I think the biggest obstacle is, you're right, selling that model to a town, right, getting it approved.
Yes.
But I think that is easy, right? Think about
It's almost like a hotel room. That's all it is. It's a hotel room.
well, but not short term, right?
No,
You're
not
talking
short
about-
term, but I'm saying that's what it is. It's a hotel room.
I mean, look at Airbnb. What has it really become, right? It's become a substitute, an alternative to renting out rooms at a hotel or renting out rooms at a motel.
Yeah.
Right. Even though some towns are pretty strict on it right now, because there's been a lot of complaints. But I think this is very different in Airbnb, where the neighbors aren't going to complain, because it's not like those are tenants. It's just they're not renting out, these big apartments. It's completely different.
Right. And there's obviously some logistics, right? Because all right, so what's the max for, per kitchen, right? Like how many people are allowed to use that one kitchen, right? There's obviously other things that go into it, and that all needs township approval, right? But I think it's definitely a good model, and it'll work.
Yeah. That's the question. Is it going to work?
It'll
Is it going to
work.
become popular?
Right. It's going to be popular, I think, definitely amongst the younger
Yeah.
generation.
How long though? Like, do you think these things are going to start popping up soon?
That would be awesome. Let's do one.
I don't want to invest with you.
No, let's do one. I mean, how sick would that be? It's like a WeWorks,
Yeah.
but for living.
Yeah. It's co-working space, right? For sure. And I was fascinated. I've only gone to 2 co-working spaces, but the last one I went to in Morristown, it's called Enmas. That one, same one
It
you
was
went to.
so cute.
Yeah, that felt homey. Like
It was adorable.
I said to myself, I would rent.
And
I would rent
everybody
an
was so
office there.
nice,
Yeah.
right? Everybody's like, hi.
Until you
hi."
stepped in there, like, oh, here we go. Here goes the neighborhood.
It was really nice. And it was clean, and, and
Yeah.
it was like just,
And they had by the way, they had 2 staff members in that building, right? So same thing with co-living space. I think you're going to have like a community manager.
of course. Yeah.
that gets
like
paid
on
to
site.
obviously,
On site, and kind of make sure that everybody's doing their
yeah,
part.
like a property manager basically.
Right. Right.
But a little bit different because, actually very different, because a property manager is just managing the property, right? The community manager is managing the community,
Yeah.
right? They're actually, creating a different sort of atmosphere.
Yeah, and then you can have events on the first floor for everybody in the building.
Please tell me not bingo. You sound like somebody we know.
Not bingo. No, but you know what, that how cute is that? That's community living, but that's true community living. I love so I go down to visit our friends in Florida every year for the last
Mal,
3-4
you have
years.
no friends.
Oh my God.
You go down
For
to
the last-
torture somebody.
for the last 3-4 years, and she lives in she lives in a very nice community in Florida. It's a gated community or whatever. And
There you go. Go, keep talking.
and first of all, everybody down there is so nice. Like she knows all of her neighbors. They have block parties, like the whole nine. And it's just so nice. Like I love the sense of community. So I think that this is exactly why that would work, right? Some people, they want that sense of community. So you're not isolated, right? They're not like that in New Jersey. I mean, do you know any nice communities that are really that like community oriented? Where it's like everybody knows everybody and they actually see each other every day.
I'm sure there's plenty out there. I'm sure.
know.
But
So you have
I think that, when we talk about communities, obviously, I always think about older people, 55, 60,
Oh no,
65.
this one's like a young
No,
community.
I know. But I like in New Jersey, right? I always think that age bracket. And I think that as you get older, it becomes very difficult for you to like walk to, maybe to the rec room or walk to the pool or
Yeah.
walk to certain, common areas. And that's where community starts to fall apart, because when you think of community, you think of, all right, people interacting with one another, people socializing, people doing things together.
What issues though do you think this would pose?
I don't think it poses any issues.
I
That's why I
have
think
an
it's
issue.
I think this is why this is a brilliant idea.
No, I mean there's always going to be issues.
No,
Mike. There's always
what's the
going to be
issue?
cons to some degree.
I don't think there's one con.
I can think of one.
What?
So what if you're on a floor where there's a person that's, I don't know, a night owl, and you can hear them in the kitchen at 3 in the morning?
That's not going to be an issue, because the room. Think about it, right? The
rooms will be soundproof.
Yeah, the rooms have to be very well
Okay,
insulated. So
Fine. That solves for that problem, but that would be a problem.
no, look, there's
It has to be constructed correctly, and that's why I was saying the walls have to be soundproof.
yeah, especially if somebody like you moves in there.
No, because think about it. Everybody
so
has their own
loud.
habits, right? And I'm a night eater. I go eat at 3:00 in the morning. I go right in my kitchen and have Oreos. So
But that's like, I think that's the cool thing. Like, imagine you get up at 2 a.m. to go munch on snacks, and then all of a sudden you bump into 1 or 2 people like, oh, what's going on? What are you
who's
doing here?
paying for the snacks? Is it
Well, you
an
would have
effort?
no, like your kitchen. Like if you're gonna do like
Everybody
again,
gets a locker.
yeah, if you have a locker or whatever you want to call it, a cabinet where it's a dedicated cabinet's yours, where you get to stuff
Yeah.
all your stuff in there.
That's
dedicated
for
cabinets.
non-perishables.
Yeah, for non-perishables.
What about
of course.
perishables?
I don't know. I don't have the answers
See?
to everything.
See, so there's some logistics and maybe some.
No, maybe this is a new way for companies like Samsung and all these refrigerator companies to come out with something that's catered to that idea, right?
I mean, I don't know, but I'm just saying there's other things that would have to be.
Yeah, this
worked
has to be
out.
really well thought out. But if laid out correctly, this is a great idea, and I do think this is the future of apartment buildings, right? Because it benefits not only the community, the tenant, when it comes from affordability, but it also benefits the investor.
Yes.
The apartment building owner.
Agreed.
They're going to be able to increase their cash flow, right? Because what's going on right now too, not just rents went up, but also labor, material, all of that has
Everything
gone up.
is up.
The mortgage rates have gone up, right? So how can you increase your cash flow? This is the perfect idea.
Mm-hmm.
And if perfected, it's a scalable model. I can see these things being built like all over the country, especially like in main cities like Newark,
City,
Miami, Jersey City,
Hoboken.
New York City, in California, and Los Angeles, LA, Austin, Dallas, right? Nashville. There is
College
a market.
towns, that would be great.
Yeah.
College towns.
Because kids today, I forget what article I was reading like months ago. Kids are paying like $1,500 for room shares.
I know.
In New Brunswick.
I know.
Like you couldn't pay me enough money to live there 10, 15 years ago. Now they're paying $1,500 per room, right? And it's in an apartment where, here's the problem with room shares in an apartment. There's not much of a community. Like you're around maybe 3 or 4 people, right? Versus 50, 60, 70 people where you have you could pick who you want to really interact and who you're going to make friends with, right? Here's the other problem with, room shares in small apartments or apartments that are 1,200 square feet. Lack of privacy. Like you can hear everything. You're talking about soundproof in a 1,200 square foot apartment, which is a big size apartment. You can hear everything.
Yeah.
So there's a lack of privacy. So if you're doing a room share, if you're doing this concept in a 5-story building where let's say the building is, 30,000 square feet, there's plenty of room where you have your own space.
You just brought up a good idea.
If you did want to go to the corner and read a book,
Laundry?
go to the corner and what about it?
Do you get laundry?
You can have them in the room, or you can have them like you have a laundry room, a dedicated laundry room for everybody, right? Where you get your own bin, right? A locker up top, your own machine, locker, or there's maybe just a variety of machines and you have your own dedicated locker.
You get stackables.
Stackables. Those are easy things to
I would actually like
configure.
it in the room.
Yeah.
I'd
Or do
prefer
it in
it
the
in the
room.
room.
Yeah. You're a maniac. That's why. Yeah. So I love this idea. I think that it's going to be like, I'm going to study it more and more and more and get to learn it and just kind of understand how you could perfect it, because I would be interested like in investing in something like this.
Yeah, I agree.
I would 100% be interested in, maybe building the first, co-living building and see how that goes. Like, and I think from, again, an investor standpoint, I think it's easy to raise money because
100%.
real estate, you got Airbnb, right? You have obviously your apartment buildings, your ground up developments, but it's getting, there's a lack of creativity. I think this solves for it, right? You can build these, endlessly across the nation.
Yeah.
Not just in the US, but I think across like in Europe and Asia, everywhere. And it solves for also supply, right? Because if there's
true.
not enough apartments out there, well, you can fit maybe 30 or 40 more rooms in the same 5-story, 25,000 square foot apartment building, right? You can repurpose a lot of other older apartment buildings. You can repurpose these abandoned motels and hotels that are around. You're
That's
seeing a
very
lot
true.
of hotels and motels have been affected by Airbnb, and more of them are vacant or they're for sale. I see them all the time. If you go on 10X, right, which is a subsidiary of LoopNet, it's an auction site. The majority of the buildings for sale are hotels.
Yeah.
Right. And some are like Marriott's, Courtyards, et cetera, et cetera. They're big name hotels. That business, the hospitality industry, it has dropped a lot since COVID, right? And since Airbnb, it's really been disrupted. So this is fascinating to see how successful. It's not if it's going to be successful. It's going to.
Yeah.
It's how successful it's going to be, and if it's going to be like the new norm. Is it going to replace the traditional apartment building, like the Vermellas, the Avenues? Do people want to really spend $3,500 just
I don't.
for a 900 square foot apartment, just, in a building that, it is a luxury building, but
And again,
what kind of
social-
amenities?
and
Oh, it's got a
again,
pool.
Right.
Okay, great.
Yeah, who
Oh, it's got
cares?
a 500 square foot
Yeah.
gym.
Yeah. But and again, social isolation. You go up in your apartment. Who do you see? Nobody.
Exactly. Yeah. So it solves for that. Like, oh, look, if you don't want to be social today, you go right back upstairs and that's it.
Yeah.
You extract yourself from the community.
Yeah. All right. So when
You got $1 million so you can invest
Let's
in
do
my
it.
new idea?
That's your
Joe, you
new
wanna invest?
idea?
Well,
It's not yours. Don't take credit
It's
for
not.
it. It's been around for 50 years.
I'm just going to perfect it. It has been around. It's funny because on the Bigger Pockets article, there were a bunch of people were commenting. They're like, this is not something new. And they're right. It isn't new, but it is tweaked. It's
Let's
a
do
tweaked
it.
version, right? It's just like Airbnb. Is Airbnb really like...
Airbnb sounded crazy to
I know,
people
but
in the
is
beginning.
Airbnb, think about it.
But so-
think about the concept. Is it really new? Weren't people already like renting out their beach houses anyway? Years ago? They were already
they
doing
weren't
it.
doing short terms. They were saying it was not legal.
No, they were doing short terms. People were renting out their beach houses for 3-4
Yeah.
days. We used to do that all the time.
I guess.
Stephanie Stasiak, she used to rent the same
Nobody
house.
knows who that is.
Well, I'm saying that one of the agents, she used to rent out the same house with her mom and her dad, her mom and her dad, Bruce, the same house for 5 days every year in LBI, every year. And I have a couple of friends that used to rent out the same house for 3 days in Brigantine. Now you have Airbnb. Right.
Yeah.
Here's a problem with Airbnb. And I remember I said we're going to rent. Problem with Airbnb, here's the loophole for a lot of people. You rent it out once, right? Most homeowners, right, that have the Airbnb, what they'll do is they'll make sure that your number is accessible. you'll contact the homeowner and now they market directly to you. And instead of you now going back, let's say you like the house a lot and you want to make this an annual thing with your family, with your friends, instead of going back on Airbnb and scheduling.
You book the same.
You're booking that same house now directly to the homeowner. Why? That's a flaw for Airbnb. And they need to figure that out, because here's what happens. As each year goes by, less and less people are going to use Airbnb and go directly to the homeowner.
Yep.
Why not? Because it's going to be, again,
They save on the.
they're going to save on the fees,
Yeah.
right? The homeowner may make it more affordable for them in the sense like, oh, you're coming back. I'll reduce it by 15% or 10%, whatever the case may be.
Do you think that these towns are going to continue to allow Airbnb though?
Beach towns will. I think that
I know a lot of towns are really cracking the whip on that.
yeah, I like that, cracking the whip. I think a lot of towns are, the amount of towns right now, specifically, and I'm speaking in New Jersey, that are increasing, that are on the Airbnb ban is highly alarming. Like Weehawken, for example, has banned it completely. Like,
Really?
yeah, you cannot Airbnb in Weehawken. And there's a lot of towns that have. And then now there are towns like Barnegat, for example,
That aren't
there's
allowing it?
restrictions. No, they're allowing it, but the restrictions are you can't rent for less than 5 days. But guess what? Most people that are renting or going
Down
on
the
Airbnb,
shore, they're going for like a week, I think.
no, but yeah, well, I would
So
say the
that's not-
weekend or
No,
4 days.
so I think some people are going to go. I think most people go for a week. If you're going away down to the Jersey Shore, you're not going to go for less than 5
Who
days.
do you think is renting most on down to shore? Do you think it's mostly New Jersey residents?
I do,
So
actually.
if I think it's mostly New Jersey residents, I mean, you could call Jackie right now and ask, but if it's mostly New Jersey residents or the vast majority of the people renting on Airbnb down to shore New Jersey residents, they're not doing it for a week. They may do 4. Remember, you're misconstruing a week to 5 days. A week is 7 days, right? So Barnegat has a strict rule. If you do not rent your house, okay, for more than 7 days, they consider that a short-term rental, and there's a fine, $3,000. Right.
Really?
So if you Airbnb your house rent out in Barnegat for 3, 4, or 5 or 6 days, you will get fined you'll get a fine of $3,000. And usually that's the Airbnb fee. That's what you're making. So it's going to hinder people from renting their houses for less than 7 days.
Mike, can I rent your house for 7 days? I want to save you the $3,000
No.
fee. So 7, please.
No.
Please, 7.
Yeah. So, and then it's not just Airbnb, it's just short-term rentals
Yeah.
in general. So a lot of towns, like you said, are cracking the whip on that. So I don't know how popular Airbnb is going to continue to be in some of those towns, right? The ones that are not destination areas, like Tom's River, for example, out on to the left of Barnegat Bay, right?
Yeah.
Not going towards the shore.
Yeah.
Like, because if you go to the Berry Islands, they don't have any restrictions. You can Airbnb your house for 2 days, or you can use VRBO. We always keep saying Airbnb, but VRBO has been
VRBOs,
around
yeah.
for a long time.
I think
That's why I
that's
say
more
Airbnb.
expensive, right?
I don't know. I don't know. From what I read, VRBO has higher fees by like 2% or 2.5%. But
Yeah.
a lot of landlords they like VRBO because there are some benefits to VRBO when it comes to the reviews and the cancellation policies, where it's more favorable to the landlord.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that, like you said, certain areas, like shore areas, it's gonna be fine. They're gonna continue to allow it. But like they're allowing Airbnb in like Linden.
No, they're not.
it's
Linden's
not
cutting
Linden?
that out too.
Oh, no more.
Yeah.
But they were.
They were.
But like, what's the purpose
it's not that
of
they were.
Airbnb?
They weren't. It's just that it popped up, and
Yeah,
they're
but what's the purpose of Airbnb being in Linden? Like,
well, here's what's happening with it. So you have reckless people who are renting out homes for 2 days. They're throwing these massive parties. They're charging at the door. Right now, it's causing havoc on the street with the neighbors. And that's why neighbors are coming out and say, it's not fair that I bought my house to live in it, and this person bought that house, and they're renting it out to people that are coming into the neighborhood
To
who
make
don't,
money.
who don't care, and they're throwing parties. And I
Yeah.
think that's been the ongoing issue, right? It's the type of short-term tenant that you're getting.
Yes,
So some
but
people
what
like
I'm
Ileani,
saying,
for example,
what
she
is-
doesn't rent to people. She doesn't rent to tenants less than 25 years of age.
yes, but I'm asking, what is the attraction to Linden? Like, I don't know.
What's the attraction in Newark? What's the attraction in Elizabeth?
No, but I'm saying I don't know why people would want to Airbnb there, right? And that's why I can see
It's close
I
to
can
it's
see-
close to Newark Airport.
but I can see those towns saying no Airbnb, whereas the more touristy / vacation spots.
Yeah, but look
they're
at
gonna
John.
continue to allow it.
John had over 200 something thousand dollars.
Yes, on the mansion.
In Plainfield, New Jersey.
Yeah.
Like, what's the attraction in Plainfield?
It was a sick house.
I understand. But other than renting out a big home in Plainfield, New Jersey, I mean, you could do that anywhere. You can go to Hamptons and rent out a big house, right? And that is an attraction, by the way, for a lot of people. A lot of people will rent out a house that's huge just to rent out a mansion. Like, I stayed in a mansion,
Yeah.
right? So that's an attraction. But how many times are you going to do it, right? In those type of towns. Like,
I guess.
renting a big house down the shore, I get it. You're down the shore. You're going to be able to
Yes.
leave the house and go
But that's
to,
my
to
point.
beach.
Is I'm saying they're going to, I think, continue to allow it down the shore in certain shore towns, because
Yeah.
not all of them allow it. But in towns like Linden and Elizabeth and Newark and Union, they're going to say, no, we don't allow short-term rentals.
Yeah.
Because it's not considered a vacation spot, right? I think it's just popular in the vacation spot. So they'll allow it for that reason, because people want to go there and vacation.
Correct.
That's the purpose of the Airbnb.
But is it fair to the homeowner who buys a house at a high price because the previous owner was Airbnb-ing it and they were able to cash flow a lot higher, and then they can justify or quantify paying a premium, and all of a sudden they can't? You know, look at, I mean, we have one of our agents, her mom's Airbnb-ing a 3-family in Elizabeth, and she's getting 3 times the amount of money that she would if she was just renting it out regularly.
It's wild.
She's cash flowing over $10,000 a month. If she just rented her apartment, she would get about 6,
It's wild.
right?
Yeah.
And that's barring that she would rent at high rent values. I don't know if she can get $2,000 per apartment. Maybe she can, maybe she can't.
Right.
But I know she's getting $10,000 consistently right now every month. If she were to sell that property, let's say the market value, right, or let's say the appraisal value is $700,000. She's not going to list that house at appraisal value. She's going to list it at what she thinks is market value based on her current revenue.
Right.
She's going to list that at 900 to $1 million plus.
Yeah.
But let's say the next person that buys it, and all of a sudden Elizabeth said, no more Airbnb. I think you're going to have a lot of those type of cases where you're going to have buyer remorse because of regulations that are being imposed by the towns. Whether it's right or not, I don't know. I just know that it's going to have a negative impact with a lot of landlords. You know, and then there's the struggle. The struggle is other landlords that own or occupy a property that don't want Airbnb in their area.
Right.
How do you contest that? Are they wrong? No, not if they had bad experiences already. Right? If you're Airbnb-ing it,
Well, I know
and you're not
that-
filtering out the tenants.
Well, I know that somebody
problem.
we know, her name starts with a J. She Airbnbs her shore house, and she was having some serious issues with her neighbor, who was complaining that everybody that she was Airbnb-ing to was too loud
Yeah.
and being disrespectful.
Yeah.
And she had to put like some sort of sound something
The
to like
town-
monitor the sounds in her house to make sure.
Oh,
that
the
they
town
were-
imposed it?
No, she took it upon herself to
Oh,
put
she
some
did.
kind of like sound sensor so that once they went over a certain octane or whatever, she would know that they were being
Oh,
loud.
that's pretty impressive.
But here's the thing. They weren't even being loud. The neighbor was just complaining.
The neighbor
I
was
think
fussing about it.
because he just he doesn't want Airbnb,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
So you can also have,
That's one of the biggest struggles with running an Airbnb business.
yeah.
Right? Your neighbors.
Yeah. And not everybody's okay with it or cool with it. And I can understand why you wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm gonna Airbnb your office, so you're it's not co-working space. It's Airbnb.
Oh my God.
All right, so transitioning, you wanted to talk about something that I figured was pretty fascinating. The market in the West Coast versus the market in the East Coast. You had this topic. Go ahead.
Yeah, the market. So I was reading last night. Yes, I read again. That apparently it's very interesting because if you draw a line straight in the middle of the U.S., the left side, the West Coast, the housing market has gone down anywhere from like, I don't know, I think it was like 3% to 9%.
What's your
or
source?
10%. I
Wall
was
Street
on
Journal, right?
Wall Street Journal
And the New York Post.
New York Post. And
I
there's
don't know if the New York Post is a good source.
and there
though.
was another one I can't
Okay.
remember. Maybe it was Housing Wire. I don't know. I have to look
All
back.
right. That's a good source.
I don't remember though, so don't quote me on that. But anyway, so
I just know you're not a good source. All right, go.
so
Continue.
left side,
So
the
the
west coast has gone down, and then the right
Well,
side.
not the West Coast, because the West Coast is the West Coast, right? If
All right,
you're
the-
drawing a line in the
yes,
middle,
so that
so
entire
from the Midwest over,
yes,
okay,
has gone down, and then the East Coast, anything east of, I think it was somewhere in Texas,
Mm-hmm.
anywhere east of wherever, I think Austin, Texas, the market was up.
yeah. I
So
wonder
it's
why.
really- well, so apparently they were saying, and again, so San Francisco is one of the ones that went down substantially. I think went down like 10%.
Okay.
That's just in like
Is
a
it
year.
substantial though? I mean, considering that it's probably gone up like 50%.
Well,
to 70,
no,
it's like,
and this is
my house has gone down 10% in the last 1 year.
No.
But wait, when did you buy? 5 years ago. But didn't it go up like probably about 70%? So it's really up 60.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so San Francisco was like down 10, and then Miami was up 12%. And they were saying that specifically in California, that there was a couple high-profile tech companies that shut down.
Ooh, okay.
So people then affordability became an issue, and
Yeah.
jobs became an issue. There's less jobs, obviously, so people were
Wouldn't be a problem if you have that co-living building.
so people are now moving out of those out of those areas.
That makes sense. But
And-
what's happening here?
I don't know. I didn't get that far into it.
Yeah, because we have a huge shortage of supply. And
Well,
it's,
and I also just think that look, it's going to happen here eventually too. It's going to come down. Right now, we're still on the up, but it's going to come down here too. I just think it's happened there sooner than it's going to happen here.
I
but
thought
it
so
will.
too, but
It's going to come down, right? It can't keep going up.
I agree.
indefinitely.
It
Like,
is
it's just
unsustainable.
not.
Yeah,
Affordability is going to be a huge issue then. It's already an issue.
yeah.
Right?
It
So
is.
at some point, it's going to snap, and people are going to be like, all right, so we're going to go into these co-living spaces.
Reach out to me for first round seed money of $1 billion.
So, but what do you think? Why do you think that's happening? It's interesting that it's like literally
Yeah.
one side of the country. It's like literally divided. I can show
I
you
think
the
you
map.
said it. I think it's it has a lot. So Texas, California, a lot of tech companies have moved there. Silicon Valley. You saw the issue with Silicon Bank.
Yeah.
That was a big issue where tech companies literally went and ran and removed their money from from their accounts, not because they were scared. It's just because expenses have gone up. Cost of hiring somebody, it has gone up. The cost of running a business because of the rates have
Cost
gone
of
up.
living has gone. When
But
the
that has
cost-
nothing to do with the actual business. So and look, some of these businesses, they've been operating for 2, 3, 4 years, and when you're operating a business for the most part, the first couple of years, there's revenue, but there's no net profits. And you can't continue to run a business that way. At some point, banks will shut it down.
Yeah.
And then what happens? You have to close down doors, or you have to start laying people off. You have to be able to create more revenue or create profitability.
And it's interesting actually because I got a call from somebody, I don't know, like 4 months ago. They lived in California, and they're like, "We're moving to New Jersey." I'm like, "For what? Why the hell would you do that?" I was like, "Really?" They're like, "Yeah, we're moving back." And I'm
I
like,
love
"Well,
New Jersey.
I like Jersey too." But I'm
You
just
said
saying,
I love
Okay.
New Jersey. Love.
I
How
love.
about you, Joe? You love New
hold on,
Jersey?
I love New Jersey.
Like I'm not a
okay?
California West Coast guy. Like my brother loves it.
I think the weather's
My
way
brother
nicer
Anthony's actually
there.
there right now. He's working there for 5 weeks. He's in San Francisco for 5 weeks.
Oh, did you tell them that's
Yeah,
market's
gotta tell
down
them.
10% there? No. So anyway, they're like, well, they were just saying that they're getting relocated for work. They were originally based out of New Jersey,
Mm-hmm.
left to go to California, and now coming back to New Jersey.
Okay,
So
interesting.
that makes sense, obviously, based off of what I read. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I think that eventually the East Coast is going to also come down. It has to. It's not going to keep going up.
Yeah, I think the market overall is just it's unsustainable, especially with the rates being high, especially with all the pressure in the banks, especially with lack of liquidity. So, a lot of people have to understand one of the reasons, don't you dare cut me off. One of the reasons why, the rates continue to go up. There's several reasons, but one of the reasons why rates continue to go up is because banks want to make it more attractive for you to put more money back into, deposits, CDs, mutual funds, money markets. They need more liquidity, right?
Yeah.
That's what's going on. You know, a lot of the balance sheets for a lot of these banks don't look good. So they need liquidity as soon as possible.
Well, I was just going to pull this up. I'm curious to see.
Pull it up.
So, no.
It's okay to have your phone on camera. It's
No,
not rude
no.
on a podcast.
I was going to pull up to see how many houses were on the market in San Francisco, right? Because I think it also has to do with supply and demand.
Versus what? Like last year? Like I don't know if Zillow's
So
gonna
right
give you that
now,
answer.
well, I just want to see. How do I work this? Looks like there's a ton of houses.
Filters.
I'll make sure I select everything, because I'm just curious, right? I think that there's a shortage right now in houses for sale.
There's over 1,000.
Over 1,000, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that the supply there is much higher than it is in, let's say, Jersey.
Well, you can't say Jersey because San Francisco is a city. You
All right.
got to pick a city.
So I don't know.
Yeah, but there's no-
Livingston.
Well, that's not a little city, right? San Francisco.
It's a city.
Yeah, you can compare San Francisco to, let's say, Miami. Check
All
out
right. So
Miami.
let's say Miami.
Yeah.
So would you say 1,000?
It was over 1,100.
How did you see that?
I saw it at the bottom.
Oh yeah. Okay. I see.
She can't breathe without me.
No.
She can't do anything without me.
So all right, you're fine. Miami is a good one to compare it to.
Bienvenido a Miami.
All right. How many do you think there are?
I don't know. There's a lot of intangibles, right? Or rather tangibles. You know, the size of Miami, stuff like that. I don't know. Probably about 500.
No, it's more. 2K.
Oh, well, that's a lot. But you got to know what the numbers look like last year, right? To compare.
True.
You know.
It doesn't look like there's 2,000. Oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I think that has something to do with it too.
I could tell you, New Jersey. I mean, just Union County alone, most towns are down 30% in terms of listings, active listings
Yeah,
from
there's
last
no-
year, just same time, from January to March
Yep.
25 or 20, whatever it is today, 28. We have a huge shortage of supply compared to last year, which we already had a problem with supply.
I'm surprised that there's still
No.
people.
Rent. Why? Why is there a shortage of supply right now?
People don't want to sell because they're locked into like a 3% interest
Yeah,
rate.
there was an article which, you know,
But this is why I'm surprised that there's so many people that are still wanting to buy when the rates are 6.5.
because people have to buy for whatever. Let me ask you this: would you rather buy at 6.5? Your mortgage payment's $3,500, or would you rather rent an apartment
No,
for
absolutely.
$3,500?
Yes, I agree.
All right.
Again, we're going on a rant, but I'm selling a house in Long Valley, and do you know they live in Jersey City? They have a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
Guess
I'll guess.
what they pay in
I
rent?
will. So there was an article last year. I don't know if you could pull it up. Jersey City was the most expensive city in the entire country in terms of rents. So 1 bedroom, they're paying about $4,000.
4,200.
Bam!
I was like, what?
Pay me.
I
Yes.
can't believe it.
But Jersey City
They're
has been
buying
very
an
expensive for the
enti-
last 10 years.
Okay, I know, but when they told me 4,200 for a 1-bedroom, and they're buying a beautiful house, and their
Sickening.
mortgage payment is going to be 5,000. Their house is
many-
like 3,000 square feet.
So it's probably like, how many square feet is that apartment? 1 bedroom, probably about 700.
Yeah.
800.
Yeah,
Right?
it's
So
like
you said what, 3,000 square feet?
plus 3,000 square feet plus with an unfinished
So
basement.
4 times the size.
Yeah, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
But that's why there's always a big turnover of renters, especially right now because rents are so high. People eventually going to be like, I don't want to continue to rent. I have to buy.
Yes, but there's nobody listing their house because they're like, why am I going to list my house?
Tell us how you really feel.
Why am I going to list my house? I have
'Cause
a
they
3% or
locked in a
4%.
slow rate, yeah.
Makes no sense for me. And the house prices are high and the interest rates are high. Why would I do that?
Yeah.
So they're not moving unless they have to. Unless they're
The trade-off is what? Yeah, you're going to sell at the highest, at the peak of the market. However, you're going to buy at the peak of the market, but your rate is much higher, almost,
Yes.
in most cases, double.
Yes.
More than double, right? Because if you got a
Yes.
3% interest rate, now you're going into 7.
I met with somebody whose
That
interest rate
hurts.
yesterday was 2.6. I was like, oh.
Yeah, they're not going to want to sell it. So there was another article that I read yesterday. A lot of landlords have been not forced, but what's the right term? They have they became landlords, right? Because at this, a 2.5%, 3% interest rate. And
You're saying
instead
that
of selling, they're just
They're
renting their
renting it.
home.
Yes.
Right?
They
It's
didn't.
like,
they
I'm gonna
decided
rent.
not. Yeah.
And then I'll sell later.
That's something I would do.
Yeah, I don't know. I would hate renting. We contemplated. I would hate renting my single family house to some stranger. I don't care if I'm charging you $4,000. I guess I got to get over that, but whatever.
Yeah.
Co-living, baby, co-living. That's where the money's gonna be.
Okay.
All right, so we talked a lot, right? Co-living, the market. What else did we speak about? Airbnbs. A lot of
We
stuff.
were all over
I
the
like
place
it.
today.
I know. I
Good
like
job,
it.
Mike.
I like it. I like it. But I'm passionate about this co-living thing. Like, I think this is.
Let's do it.
I'm not getting into business with you. This is my idea. She's trying to hack my idea.
It's not your idea.
She's trying to hack my idea, Joe.
It's not your
No.
idea.
It's my idea.
It's not your idea.
Well, it's my idea right now in this room because I brought it up and you didn't. But I think the design of these co-living buildings, that's where is going to be key. Like, for example, let's talk
I'll help you
about
design them.
let's talk about Vermella, right? Why Vermella is for
So
those who don't know.
overrated.
Wait, I don't think it's overrated. I think Vermella puts out a great product. Vermella is an apartment
too
building.
expensive.
There's like 20 of them, probably more than 20 in New Jersey alone. Why are they able to get top dollar for rents?
Because they offer amenities.
Exactly. But
Yes.
not only that, but the product is great. When you go inside their hallways,
Yes.
the lobbies, same thing with Avenue. When
Of
John was there,
course.
it's just like when I walked in 2
Oh,
seconds,
I
like
loved
I would live here.
Absolutely.
Right?
Same. I'm the same
If
way.
that's the effect within seconds, then you put out a great product. I've walked into a lot of apartment buildings and I'm like, I would not live here.
Yeah.
Wait, $2,500 for a 1-bedroom here? Absolutely not. Not gonna
No,
do that.
I agree with you. So anyway, we'll get started on that. Guys, stay tuned.
Negative. Negative.
Stay tuned for
Negative. Not happening. Nope. You're gonna have to sign an agreement right now. I will help Mike Gomes with this new idea, but I reserve the right to 0%. All right, guys. Awesome stuff.
All
Good
right.
stuff. It's about time you make a contribution to this podcast.
Oh my God.
Peace.
Bye.